today's video, we are going to do Summarize Written Text of PTE Academic. Summarize Written Text is the first task of your writing section. However, it gives you mark for reading as well. So let's take a look without further ado. In today's video, we will try to find out what Summarize Written Text is, what is the marking criteria, or how we can secure the maximum possible score, and the techniques to follow. Now, this is from Pearson's textbook. It says the purpose of the test of this section is to assess your ability to write a one-sentence summary. A very important note here: one-sentence summary of the key points from a reading passage. The passages are up to 300 words. Remember, this 300 words is just an indication. It can be more or less. Long and cover variety of academic topics drawn from the humanities, natural sciences, and social sciences. You will summarize either 2 or 3 reading passages. So your number of questions will be either 2 or 3. You will have 10 minutes. This is your time limit to summarize each passage. Each summary should be a single sentence of no less than 5 to no more than 75 words. So your word limit is between 5 to 75. Now, my take on summary is, whenever I think of a summary, I imagine something short and I do not expect to get a totally new message. That means in the summary, in my mind, I want the same message as in the full text. And then that means the same message needs to be carried forward, meaning that a summary must be short in terms of its length and precise in terms of its meaning. To achieve these 2 requirements, I actually believe in doing 2 things. First of all, I keep all the key contents that will make sure the meaning is precise, and I also get rid of any minor content that will make sure my summary is short. So what we have found out so far is number of questions for summary will be between 2 to 3. Length of each question is around 300 words. Word limit for each question is between 5 to 75 words. There is an additional requirement, that is one sentence only. That means you can only use one full stop at the end, and time limit is 10 minutes per question. Now, for your summarized written text, per question you have 7 marks, as you can see in this marking criteria from Pearson. You have 2 marks for content, and that 2 marks will be given to you if you provide a good summary of the text where you have covered all the relevant aspects. If you get 1 mark if you provide a fair summary of the text but misses a 1 to 2 aspects. That means if you miss 1 or 2 main ideas, you still get 1 mark and you lose 1 mark. And if you actually fail to provide anything from the text, or if you have provided but you have misrepresented, that means the meaning has changed, you get 0 mark. And then you have 1 mark for format or form, and that 1 mark is given if you write in a single one sentence which completes in a single complete sentence, and it does not cover cross that word limit. So what is the word limit? 5 to 75 words. And another restriction is you have 1 sentence only. For grammar, you have 2 marks again. If you have proper grammatical structure, you have 2 marks. If your grammatical structures do a bit of an error, has a bit of an error, you lose a mark or 2, unless it does not hindrance to in the communication. That means the meaning has not changed. But if your grammatical mistakes change the meaning that actually hinder communication, you will get 0 in grammar. Remember, if you get 0 in content or in format, your final score will be 0. Now, one thing that you have to keep in mind that you can write only 1 sentence, right? And in a passage, it is highly unlikely that you get only 1 sentence or only 1 main point. You will have multiple main points. Thus, all those multiple main points need to be joined in a grammatically accurate way to create only one sentence. That's where the grammar mark is actually playing its role, that the joining that you are doing, is this the right sort of joining or wrong sort of joining? Let's say you have two supportive sentences placed one after another, but the joiner you have used is but. In this case, you are changing the meaning because of your wrong usage of the joiner. Now, you also have 2 marks for vocabulary. It says has appropriate choice of words. Look, when they say appropriate choice of words, they actually expect you to use lots of different words compared to the text itself, compared to the compared to the question. But we're gonna address that later on when we're gonna discuss them in details. Next is where the score is going. In terms of when it is communicative skill, it is going to your reading and writing. And in your enabling skill, it is going to grammar and vocabulary. It is not going to written discourse. I have found quite often that the students are coming to me and saying, hey, my written discourse is low. Looks like I might have lost score for written discourse in the summary, or maybe my summary is bad because my written discourse is low. Now, if you have been thinking of that, or if you have been taught that, you know that that is not right. As you can see, this is a screenshot from Pearson's guide, score guide, and it clearly says your mark for enabling skill from summary is going to grammar and vocabulary, not to any other enabling skills. Next is contribution. In terms of your final score, it contributes to 12% of your reading score and 14% of your writing score. So it is quite significant in terms of its contribution. How to write a good summary? Let's look at the Pearson's way. Pearson is telling you that it include all the main points and any important supporting information, but none of the minor points. So this is a very gray area when they say none of the minor points. We're gonna come and talk about it later on. And then it says be presented in a logical order. So point you are actually making, they need to be in a logical sequence. And then only include ideas from the text, not your own ideas. It is a very important point, and it is very worthwhile to mention because see, you are doing a summary. When you are writing a summary, it is not your job to give me a new message or give the writer or reader a new message. Your job is to pass on the same message. So you can't write anything from yourself. And of course, be shorter than the original. We have already discussed and we have seen the questions can be up to 300 words, whereas our answer needs to be constrained between 5 to 75 words, and mostly use different word from the original text. Now, again, this is something that Pearson is saying, but we're gonna look at it in a different from a different angle later on our techniques. Now, my strategy is very simple. I follow a 5-step strategy. If you follow them, it is very easy to find out all the main ideas. Just focus on the first step first, because that's a very important step. Step number 1, I'm saying that, find out all the main ideas. Now the question is, how do I find out main idea? First of all, main ideas are topic sentences. Topic sentences or general statement. Or in short, we look for any independent idea or independent sentence. Now, topic sentences normally contains the controlling idea. That is, this sentence will be brief, but it has such a powerful message, then the rest of the sentences will be able to explain it or give more clarification to it. However, the sentence itself will be able to stand out even without any explanations, right? Next is to find out any information that is not new. Now, I know this is not the ideal way of doing it for in general life, but for PTE, this is very important that whenever you find a new information that has appeared in the text, that you take it as your main idea. Just as an example, let's say your question is about COVID-19 and its spread worldwide. Now, when we talk about COVID-19, we did not specifically talk about any variation or any variants of COVID-19, not alpha or beta or delta variants. But when they talk about delta variants very specifically, then we need to include that in our answer, because we have not spoken about delta variance, and in the middle of the passage, if we have mentioned about it, that means this is going to be my new controlling idea for this paragraph. Now, next step is rewrite all the main ideas as they are. This is very important. I don't want you guys to rewrite anything from yourself. At the moment, rewrite them as they are. Do not change anything. Next step is compare and join. To compare and join only for PT, remember, I'm again telling you, this is not your lifelong lesson, or this is not something that you remember for the whole life. You do it only for PTE. You use these 4 simple joiners that shall suffice, and but, so, which. Try to use it from this way. So if you, let's take a look at here. If your sentence 1 and sentence 2 has same subject, try to use which or WH word. If your sentence 2 is a result of sentence 1, it happened because of sentence 1, on that case you use so. If your sentence 2 and sentence 1 are totally opposite, you use but. In all other cases you use and. And again, I'm telling you, this is only for PTE. This is a simple tricks and tips. This is the trick that most of my students always used and got their score. So you don't have to worry about how grammatically right or wrong that is. Just follow this strategy. Now, another question that I quite often find from students is that, do I use comma with them? Look, it depends. Grammatically speaking, not in all the cases you need to use comma. But for PTE, for any joiners, just use comma. Next is use some synonymous words. Now the question is, this is something we have seen before, and we said we are going to address it later on. This is when I'm going to address it. When I say synonymous word, I want you to use at least 2 synonyms. That is, I'm asking you to write the same sentences and words as they are in the question, but use 2 or max 3 synonyms. That's it. You don't need to do more. You will fulfill the condition of using some synonymous words, thus getting 2 marks for vocabulary. Next is edit, especially when you have crossed 75 words. Now let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at these 5 steps in practice. First, let's identify all the main ideas. In this sentence, if I look at it, a government is the organization, machinery, or agency through which a political unit exercises its authority, controls and administers public policy, and directs and controls the actions of its members or subjects. I can clearly understand that in this sentence, it is trying to give me a definition, right? So a government, what does a government do? And if I look at the next sentence, it says the government makes laws, regulate economies, conduct relations with other countries, provide infrastructure and services, and maintain an army and a police force, among others, on behalf of the people of the country. So if I take a look at it, so government is a political unit that exercises its authority, right? Now I can understand, of course, making laws, regulate economies. These are the part by which someone exercises their authority, in this case government. And also if I look at it, the article used before government is a, whereas the article used here is the. That means I'm giving more specific information, whereas here it is more of a general information, and it makes it apparent that maybe first sentence is my main idea. Let's take a look at the next slide. That's what I did. Take a look at it. This part of the text is providing us with the definition, which tells me what a government is. This part of the text tells me how does the government function, and more importantly, it reflects upon a general statement and provides supporting data. So in my answer, I'm gonna just keep the first part and avoiding the second part. By taking these 2 information into consideration, we can certainly decide that we will keep the first sentence of in our answer, whereas we will get rid of the second one. Remember, keeping the main idea, getting rid of the minor ideas. Moving forward, in this sentence or in this paragraph. Let's take a look. Democracy is any system of the government in which people have the rule. The ancient Greeks used the word democracy to mean government by the many, in contrast to government by the few. There is a typo, it should be the. The key of democracy is that the people hold ultimate power. Abraham Lincoln best captured this spirit by describing democracy as a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Now take a look at it here. Democracy is any system of government in which people have the rule. Now we have in the previous paragraph discussed about what a government is, but we have not discussed about what democracy is or what kind of government we are talking about. Here, of course, we get a new idea that will become our main idea in the first that's the first thing that I have to mention. Second thing that I have to mention is it is also giving me a definition. In this definition, it is telling me what democracy is. And if I look from here to here, all of these are describing that sentence. If I look at it, see, one of the keyword here is people. People have the rule. The ancient Greek used the word democracy to mean government by the many. When we say by the many, we definitely mean people. The key of democracy is that people hold ultimate power. So people hold ultimate power. Again, we are reflecting upon the same information. Abraham Lincoln best captured this spirit by describing democracy as a government of the people, by the people, for the people. In all the cases, it is going back to reflect on the first sentence, which is, as we know, our main idea by now. Next sentence, democratic government is opposed to an authoritative government. We have not discussed before whether democratic government, how does it look like, whether it looks like something or whether it is looking like something else. And here, then with opposed to, we can understand that yes, this is a new information and it is opposing to, or it is contrasting to the core principle of people. That's why the remaining part, where the participation of its citizenry is limited or prohibited. That means the participation of the citizens or the people is limited. That is also giving me supporting idea for this part of the sentence. Thus, if I have to take, look at the next slide. So you can see the, whatever I have said, first sentence in the information also giving me a definition. Second part and second red portion is just giving me some supporting idea for the topic sentence. Third sentence is something new, and fourth part is, just a support to the opposed to portion. Right, let's move to next paragraph. In next paragraph, I've already done your job, that is finding out the main idea and finding out the supporting idea. First, take a look at the main idea. It says, over the years, there has been a dramatic growth in the number of political regimes that meet basic standards of procedural democracy. Now, we have not discussed about whether the democratic regime have increased or not. We did not discuss about that. As it is a new thing, that's why it is our main idea. And when we look at the next sentence, it starts with such procedures. We can pretty easily understand the keyword of the previous paragraph or previous sentence is becoming its its keyword as well. So we can say object of the previous sentence, which is the keyword, has become the subject of this sentence, thus proving that this point is a supporting idea. Now let's look at the next paragraph. In the next paragraph, first sentence says the establishment of democracy in countries with no prior democratic experience, its re-establishment in countries that had experienced previous periods of authoritarian rule, and the expansion of the number of independent states following the demise of European and Soviet communism led to the adoption of democracy in most countries. Now, so far, what happened with all the paragraphs, we found that the first sentence is the main idea. Here, it will be different because if you read it properly, you can understand that it is telling us how and why and where the number of democratic governments increased. So if I look at it properly, actually, this paragraph is actually reflecting upon this growth. So it is nothing new. It is still a supporting idea to the previous paragraph. Hence, it cannot be my main idea. Next is, as a result of these changes, attention has been focused on constitutional rules that guide competition for and the exercise of political authority under democracy. So as a result, as there has some change, and there has been some change, it is very simple that this part we bring it within our answer, because it is now telling me what happened because of all the things we have discussed so far. So it is giving me a gist of whatever we have gotten. Whether we want it or not, this has to be in our answer. So if I look at it, this is the same thing that I mentioned. And now let's move to step number 2. As we discussed, step number 2 is rewrite all the main ideas as they are. Let's do that. So as you can see, I have not changed anything at all. In this case, I will now move to step number 3, which is compare and join. Now, of course, I have a slide for that, but before I move into slide, I want to do it manually. Let's take a look. If I look at this paragraph, these 2 sentences, let's follow my method that I taught. First, let's try to use WH word. In order to use WH word, we need to have same subject. If I look at it, we do not have same subject, thus we cannot use WH word. Next step is to try and use so. In order to use so, I said that sentence 2 needs to be the result of sentence 1, which is not the case. Thus, I'm not also using so. Next, I said we will try to use but. If I look at it again, in order to use but, as I mentioned, that you need to have sentence 1 and sentence 2 opposing to each other, which in this case is not happening. So by default, I'm using and I said for the joiners, I'm going to use comma. Now, if I look at 2 and 3, I can pretty easily say democracy is a system of government or democratic government. So they have the same subject. Why don't I use which? I use a comma, sorry, my bad, which with H. Now, as I'm gonna use which, I need to get rid of democratic government. So subject needs to be replaced with which. Over the years, there has been a dramatic growth in the number of political regimes that meet basic standards of procedural democracy. I can understand that I need to use and in this case. Attention has been focused on constitutional rules that guide competition for and the exercise of political authority under democracy. Remember, the joiner before this sentence was as a result of these changes, so we are going to use so. Now let's take a look at my doing. Yep, this is what I did, and I have definitely tried to explain it in a graphical manner, if that helps. And I have also write down when we join with those joiners, we must use comma. Remember, this must is not your whole life must, it is a PTE must. Okay, let's move to the next step, which is use 2 synonymous words. I've just changed organization to institution, opposed to contrasting. You can pick any 2 of your likings, there's no issue at all. Next step is editing. Why editing is needed? As I have counted that it is 96 words, I am allowed to write 95 words. Thus, I'm moving forward, and when I'm editing, remember I need to get rid of the words that are not important or that cannot impact in the meaning. And hence, this is the result. What I'm doing is, a government is the institute or institution, whatever you'd like to say, institute, machinery or agency. So obviously machinery and agency easily fit within institute, through which a political unit exercises its authority, controls and administers public policy, and directs and controls the actions of its members or subjects. This part is quite clearly reflecting on the fact of authority. So with authority, I can understand all these. I don't need anything else. And democracy is any system of government in which the people have the rule, which is contrasting to an authoritative government. And over the years, there has been a dramatic growth in the number of political regimes that meet basic standards of procedural democracy. So attention has been focused on constitutional rules. Again, if I get rid of this part, If you read it, you will understand that things will not make a difference in terms of meaning. Thus, I am ending up with this final answer, which is 67 words. Hope this video has helped you understand how to solve PTE Summarize Written Text, or SWT as we call it. If you have any problem, you can always reach out to me. You can find my contact details in the description of this video. Stay tuned, like, share, and subscribe so that you can get regular update of any PTE lectures or videos that I make. And don't forget to practice a lot. Thank you.